everyone. This is going to be a really short video, but to show you how I did some fabric pieces and the binding on my newest book that I did like a short video a couple days ago, I believe it was. Okay, so I've gotten a lot of requests if I could just show really quick how I did this. So I have these fabric strips in here, okay, and they're not on every single page, okay. So people were wondering, how did you create your binding? So I'm going to show you really quick what I did. This isn't going to be very long. When I generally work on my books to create them, many times I'm creating the pages and just randomly, you know, sat down in my studio and it's whatever I was feeling in the moment, I created. I don't generally put a book together and then start working in it unless there's just no creativity really going anywhere. And I feel like, okay, I don't know what idea to come up with. I don't really have an inspiration for anything. So maybe if I put my book together, maybe that will kick something in, okay? So either way, regardless of how you choose to do it, you know, it's just going to be a preference thing. In my book, I chose to use watercolor paper, okay, to, you know, to create this book. If you want to see all the pages, just, you know, go through and check out the video and everything. That'll, you know, walk you through it and everything. You can use mixed media paper. You can use whatever you want. You do want it to be sturdy enough and have a heavy enough weight in case, you know, if you're going to be layering paints on it, paper, you know, to be able to handle it without it tearing and warping really bad. But that doesn't mean that even when I choose to use watercolor paper, I do tend to a lot of times have it where it warps. I would just tend to put some heavy books on it if I really don't like that look, and it generally will flatten it out. Sometimes you can, if you want to, you can gesso the opposite side while you're working on it, and then that will help keep it somewhat a little bit flat down. But anyways, so here's my paper. So what I do is, here's one, I'm starting to form the book, okay? And I want to put fabric strips on this, and that is how these two pages are being connected together, okay? So I took a piece. Let me get it. This is vintage canvas, okay? So whatever you want to use, but you just want to make sure that it's heavy enough weight so it's not really flimsy. And generally, oh, this is really, let me get this kind of squared up. You know, I love the distressed look in it too, the tattered, all that. I don't generally have to do this stuff I'm going to show you guys, but for the purpose of this video, and if I have days that I'm just not able to feed it through my sewing machine without it going, you know, all over, this helps. So let me explain what I'm referring to. To keep my fabric in place on both sides, I will take a glue stick, and I'll start with this one, okay? And I lay it right there, and I find, you know, pretty much where I want to, like the halfway point, straighten it up. And if I don't get it straight, that's what's really cool about this, I can lift it up. The glue stick is only temporary for this purpose. It's just to hold it in place, let it dry, take it over to my sewing machine, and then what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to set up my sewing machine to show this. This is just basic 101 stitching. I'm going to flatten this out, okay, just like that. And I'm only doing the stitching on this side, okay? Because if I stitched it to this side, it's going to look like this. What I need after I stitch it to this side is I need to take this other side and attach it to my previous page. Now these two are going to be locked together, see? Okay, just like what you saw in this book. That's how these two pages got formed together, you know, that they were attached. Now here's the next question you have to ask yourself. The stitching is going to be revealed on the opposite side. If you don't like that look of it just kind of sitting there, meaning it's not covered up with fabric or anything, you may want to put a piece of fabric on the other side, and I'll discuss that in a minute. But what I like is I like this embossed feel that the stitching gives. I covered it up with paints, paper, inks, all that, and that just added to the effect of the page. So if I choose not to lay a piece of fabric on this side, so when I go through with my stitching, and what I'm referring to is like this, okay? Okay. When I do the stitching on this side, the reverse side is going to be here. The stitching is going to it's going to be on top of the fabric. So now that added another dimension to my piece. And granted, I don't have to put that exactly there. I can put it in the middle, okay? So it looks exactly like this. But keep in mind that if you choose to put fabric on both sides, that is going to make it bulkier and it may not lay flat. Okay, it's a preference thing, whatever. So if you choose to put fabric over here, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to put glue stick here, and you're going to lay your fabric down. You're going to let it glue or dry. The reason you're letting it dry is because if you take it directly to the sewing machine at this point, it's going to gum up your sewing machine and needle. Okay, so you just want to give it, depending on your area, a few minutes to dry. It doesn't take very long. Okay, how sweet is that? But I choose not to put it over here because I have no idea if I would like this to be a one-page spread. And what I mean by that is something like, let me show you this. If I had put fabric on the inside, okay, what's going to happen is it's going to break this up so it's not one continuous flow. It's going to be this page and it's going to be this page. So you can, I'm not sure if the light's hitting it correctly, you can see the stitching on it. I have vintage paper, French paper behind it all over. You can see different depths. I like that look. Okay, that's my type of things that inspire me, intrigues me, different things like that. So again, a preference thing, okay? So I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine and I would go stitch, stitch. Then when I would come back, I'm going to lay it on this side. I'm going to put my glue stick here and I'm going to attach these two, okay? So and I generally don't butt the spine, the inside pieces directly right against each other. I leave maybe a fourth to an eighth to a fourth. I want a little bit of, let me get this just a minute. I'm not able to lean over it because of the camera. So I'm kind of guessing. I think this one, I don't know, maybe it's okay. Okay, so I have the flexibility. I have the room for this to fold. Yeah, I thought this paper, this piece was bigger. Yeah, it is longer. That's why it looked kind of odd. So let me open this up. So now they're attached like this. So basically, this piece would already be stitched, but remember, when you take it over to the sewing machine, you want to lay it like this. You want this to be open. The same thing goes for this side. So when I go to stitch this side, okay, I would do the exact same thing. I would open this up, so I'm only doing just the one page and do my stitching. Now, if you don't want to use the sewing machine, hand stitch it. That's even, another element to your page. Totally a preference thing. But you can see where I was referring to that you see the stitching. Let's say that you got your book all put together, and now, I think this is off a little bit, maybe not. You're like, oh, I wish I would have put fabric in here. Not a problem. We can still cover that up as an afterthought. Take a piece of fabric, okay, put tacky glue here or put it on your piece, whichever one, and then lay it down, okay? Now you're covering it up. If you don't want it to look like it's just sitting there, before you glue it down, okay, take it over to the sewing machine and do some decorative stitching. You can do hand stitching in it. So when the viewer sees it, they're going to think that you attach this piece with the hand stitching, the machine, machine stitching. So they're going to be trying to figure out, well, why don't I see the stitching on this side? We're just tricking the viewer, okay? It was an afterthought. I didn't think I was going to want a fabric there. Now I do, okay? So I hope that explained it and I didn't lose you guys, you know, through all my rambling. But now you have it to this point, okay? Now you've got your book together, okay? So now you're thinking, okay, how did she do this part? Basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to put holes. I put 3 holes. I measured them out, an inch in, and then the center. I started from the outside of my piece. I went in, brought the needle through. I go back out, pull it out, come back into the center. Now I come over here, I bring my needle down to this hole, I go through, I pull it out. I now tie a knot, okay? Simple as can be, okay? Now, on the pieces that have the fabric in it, I still do the exact same thing. I measure an inch up, an inch down, make my center hole, okay? Put my needle through, I start from the outside. Why am I starting from the outside? I want my knot on the outside because I'm going to cover these all up. If you choose not to do it that way, you can start from the inside and leave your knot exposed on the inside, okay? Totally a preference thing. I would continue to do this all the way through on every single one, okay? So you've got that done. Now I would then snip these to where they're probably about a 1/2 inch, okay? Like that, maybe 3/4 of an inch, you know, something like that. I'm not ready for that, but that's what I would do. Once I've got this all stitched, I've snipped my ends, okay? I'm then wanting to cover all this up so the viewer does not see my linen. It's not a biggie if you want to leave your linen exposed, okay? Your waxed linen. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. All you're going to do is once you've got this all done, I took some tacky glue and I put tacky glue there and I covered it up. Okay? That's all I did. Now, I could take my piece before I glue it down, and again, I could do hand stitching in here. I could take it over to the machine. Okay? I then glue this down. To help secure it, if you feel that it needs a little bit extra, you can come in to the pieces that are not, you know, the ones that have fabric. And I could do a couple stitching pieces with thread and help secure that even more so. I would not recommend to do that until your glue has totally dried, okay? Because your needle is going to be going through the glue and you don't want to gum up your needle. Okay, so again, all of a sudden you see this and now it's covered up. Okay, I could even do handwriting on here. That would be really cool to do some writing, and then I would probably seal it depending on if it's a permanent pencil, marker, whatever it is. I would seal it. Then once that dries, I would then put tacky glue here, or you could put it right on here, and then I glue this down. Okay, how sweet is that? So it's going to look like this. If you were to take this piece off, you would see all my waxed linen behind it. I then brought the piece, I glued it down, and then voila. Okay? It was just something I wanted to show really quick. I've had people ask, you know, how did I get my fabric pieces attached to it? Because a lot of times you're going to struggle trying to feed this through. And if it's not glued down with a glue stick or something, it's going to have a tendency to want to shift. And then, you know, you might find that you struggle. Maybe you don't. It's just a trial and error thing, okay? Now, if I didn't want this to be exposed, same thing. I could take a piece of fabric, I could glue it down, and now I've covered that up. Everything you do, you have to remember, it's going to add bulk to the inside of your pieces. So your book may not lay flat. It may start being where it's going to kind of be more where it's open. But that's okay. It's going to be a preference thing. You can see that my book is a little wompy, but that adds to the look that I was trying to achieve with this whole piece. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the little, you know, tutorial really quick. That's basically what I did, you guys. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks. Until we see each other down the road. Bye.